Supply by definition means the willingness and ability of producers to produce goods and or services at any given price.
Let's imagine we're all producers and think like producers. We love profits like bees love honey. Revenue minus cost give us profit, so anything that increases profit will make us produce, and produce. Money, money, money. First, prices. When price increases, revenue increases. Hence, profits increase. That's a signal to produce more. In other words, increase quantity supplied. Input prices. Suppose we bake and sell cakes. Eggs, flour, and labor all cost money. When price of inputs like eggs increases, baking cakes become less profitable. So, we'll supply fewer cakes. Technology. We used to bake with these. That's slow. Due to improvements in technology, we now bake with these. Our productivity increases. So better technology helps us save cost, which increases our profits. We'll gladly supply more cakes. Yum yum. Competitive supply. As bakers, we can bake cakes or bread. If price of bread increases, this means baking bread is more profitable. Then we should bake more bread? Crap. Supply of cakes has to decrease. Why? Because we use the same resources to bake bread and cakes. When we bake more bread, we have fewer resources left to bake cakes. In this case, we say that cakes and bread are in competitive supply. When supply of bread increases, supply of cakes has to decrease. There is another type of supply called joint supply. For example, beef and leather. To produce more beef, we have to slaughter more cows. This allows us to produce more leather too. So we say that beef and leather are in joint supply. When supply of beef increases, supply of leather increases as well. Expectation of future prices. Suppose you own some gold. If you think the price of gold is going to fall in the future, sell the gold as soon as possible before its price falls further. So supply of gold today will rise. If you think the price is going to rise in the future, then keep the gold today so that you can sell it at a higher profit in the future. So supply of gold today will fall. Weather. Remember the tsunami that hit Japan in 2011? That destroyed many factories. So supply of many stuff like cars and electronics decreased in the short term. And of course, with good weather, supply increases. Number of producers. In 2010, if you wanted a tablet, you had to get an iPad. As more manufacturers entered the tablet market, you have many choices today. When number of producers increases, supply increases, and vice versa.
Supply is referred to a quantity of a product that firms are willing to offer for sale in the market at different prices. The quantity of product which suppliers, whose are firms owners, and these peoples are called suppliers, so they offer a specific commodity for sale in the market at different prices. For example, Ali is a firm owner and he offered 500 quantity of watches for sale in the market on a price $200. So here the supply would be 500 pieces of watches, even if it is sold or not. but this would be called as supply. Determinants of supply. The determinants of supply mean those factors that cause the change in the quantity of supply. So those factors are causes which change the quantity of supply is called determinants. And we have 6 determinants of supply. The first one is prices of raw materials. If prices of raw materials or resources increases, the cost of production will also increase. So the supplier would have less profit if they produce more. That's why the suppliers will prefer to supply less. On high prices of raw material, the supplier will prefer to supply less. But when there is decrease in prices of raw materials, then suppliers will prefer to supply more, because the cost of production will decrease and the suppliers will have more profit. So that's why the supplier will supply more. The second one we have is the number of sellers. If the number of sellers increases, then even though the supplier will try to supply more, because there will be more number of shops in the market, so the supply will increase. If the number of sellers decreases, the quantity supplier will also decrease. On the third position we have taxes and subsidies. If government increases taxes on raw material or factors of production, then the suppliers will have less profit, so the suppliers will supply less. Thus the supply will decrease. But if government subsidize firms and they give subsidies to firms owners, then the supplier will supply more because there will be more profit margin. The fourth one we have is technology. If there is advancement in technology, so even though the supply increase, because the cost of production will decrease. On the fifth position we have suppliers' expectations. If the suppliers expect that in the future the prices will go up, so they will supply less in the current situation and hold the supply, thus the supply will decrease. But if the suppliers expect that in future the prices will goes down, so they will supply more in the market because there will be more profit margin in the current situation. On the sixth position we have prices of related goods. If the prices of related goods or products increases, even though the suppliers will supply more because there will be more demand of goods and services which they produce. But if the price of related products or goods decreases, then the suppliers will supply less because consumers will shift to those products whose prices decreased.